Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Power Man podcast. My name is Rory Paquette. I know you know that. Folks, I just like to remind myself about how grateful I am to be sitting in this chair, especially today. Um, the When we went to 5 days, you folks really showed up, but when we went to seven, you folks not only showed up, but you really came through. And we have been able to just break records. We've been able to reach all kinds of new ground. I'm almost speechless with how awesome it is. So if you're not out there doing what you're doing, then I can't sit here doing what I'm doing. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. You folks all know what time it is, and that's right. It's time to pay some bills. So let's take a sip of our preferred beverage. There we go. Ah, you guys all know what we're drinking if you're a friend of the program. It is Freedom Hill Coffee at Freedom Hill Coffee on Instagram. Look them up, check them out. Um, they do all the right things for all the right reasons. They brew a mean cup of Joe. Let me get one more sip real quick because my throat's not cooperating with me. It's like 9 interviews in a row. You would think I would still have a voice. Who knows? Hey, there it is. All right, this coffee's fantastic. I couldn't do the show without it. Deep, dark, rich, bold, and beautiful. Just like my wife. They do all the right things for all the right reasons, like I said, and they support veterans, including the gentleman we have on here today. If you folks are veterans out there, we thank you all for your service, and we love you, and we're glad that you found a home here with Power Man. Folks, look them up. Freedom Hill Coffee at Freedom Hill Coffee on Instagram. Tell them Power of Man sent you. Now let me get a one more sip of this so I can keep up with this young buck on the other side of the table from me. Oh, okay. And I'll be drinking that through the entire thing, trying to keep up with this guy. So here we go. He has quite a story. He is an Air Force veteran. He is a soon-to-be author. And well, I'll tell you something. He's going to tell you everything else about who he is. Please welcome to the show, Logan. Logan, how you doing today, brother?
My friend, I'm doing excellent. Excellent. Every day I'm alive. I'm thankful.
That's a great way to be. That's a great way to be. And you know, he even said that when he came on the pre-interview, you guys. So this is legit. This isn't like just for you. This is really how this guy is. I absolutely love it. Logan, you've got quite a story from what I understand. I'm going to let you start telling it. Go ahead and tell everybody who is here in our audience today with us a little bit about who is Logan, what are you about, and what brings you here today, brother.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate the kind words. I appreciate the audience for listening. I'm just a guy. I was born on the south side of Chicago to a poor single mother. Um, we had everything we needed, but it was tight. And I'm sure that resonates with so many of the listeners out there. Um, where my story kind of diverges is I grew up in a bit of a weird religion. And it was not, I call it a cult. I categorize it as a cult, but it wasn't necessarily a compound the way you might traditionally think of it. It was more of a cult of the mind and the process in which they kind of manipulated our thoughts. For example, as a small child, I wasn't allowed to eat chocolate. I wasn't allowed to watch cartoons. I wasn't allowed to. No one in the religion was allowed to celebrate holidays. And as a result, I grew up super just feeling like an outcast in every way. I couldn't play sports. Growing up in the 90s in Chicago, I couldn't watch Jordan play. I couldn't
Wow.
I couldn't go outside and participate in gym class with my friends. And so I just really felt like I was different in every way. And I became suicidal as a teenager. And it was really difficult balancing trying to live in this modern world at that time and having these parents with, I was raised by my mother and my grandmother, um, with these super strict religious views. And I remember a Friday night where I was getting out of church with my mother and my grandmother, and the church led out into a boulevard, and I was standing at the curb watching the trucks go by and contemplating this wouldn't be so bad if I could just
Hmm.
end it all. And I honestly don't know how I got through that moment of life. But I know as time moved on, funny anecdote, as I reminisce about that moment often now, I kind of imagine my mother kicking my butt through the grave uh, for giving her trouble. She was a strict, hard woman. She was a difficult woman to please. But so I was like, maybe I don't want to do this because I don't want to present more trouble for her. But I remember still struggling through high school. I didn't go to my own prom. I wasn't allowed to date. I ended up running away from that religion, from my helicopter parent mother, to the Air Force, and I thought I would find solace there. I ended up getting married pretty early at the age of 19 and getting sent to Iraq twice in my mid 20s, and that was where I really um, my life changed in so many ways. Experiencing your mortality, I was assigned to a location twice called Joint Base Balad, Iraq. And it was nicknamed Mortaritaville because we got small arms attacked
Hmm.
8 to 9 times a day. So being forced to see and feel your mortality and not knowing whether you were coming home. I had a little 2-year-old daughter at home, um, and not being able to, I mean, seeing your friends pass and seeing, like, walking home and seeing body parts and people cleaning up, that, like, these are things that you can't shake off no matter how normal, quote unquote, it is, because you're attacked every day for 8 times a day for 6 months straight. There's a certain amount of normal that you have to survive. Your body wants to survive, but you're also faced with your mortality. It was at that moment that I realized that I was chosen for some weird reason to make it through all of these experiences, and it wasn't my experience to hold on to alone. I needed to talk to anxiety, depression, uh, all of these PTSD experiences that I had with other people, and give back to the community. And so realized I was an airport operations manager in the Air Force, but I was still living in my comfort zone. And so I decided if I had the chance, I would really truly pursue my dreams. And so when I got out, and there's a little bit of a story before I got out, but when I got out of the military and I didn't renew my contract, I moved to Los Angeles, and I didn't know anyone there. I didn't have any friends. I didn't have a network, but I had a dream of being a live television director, something that I've held on to as a small child. And despite being 30 years old and my competitors um, as production assistants, starting from the very bottom of the barrel, they were 18 and 19 years old. But I knew I was I had what they didn't. I had the passion, I had the know-how, I had the grit and resilience to make it through this situation where, yes, there was a lot of limiting beliefs that were flowing through my head and my body, and like, oh, are you really gonna compete? Are you really gonna make this dream a reality? And I'm really proud to say, as of now, that I have 10,000 hours of live television experience. I've been a part of amazing broadcasts, 2 World Series, one Super Bowl. I've directed personally 5 French Open broadcasts for tennis, multiple U.S. Opens, so many pregame, postgame shows. I am living my dream, and now I'm back reversing it, trying to understand the science behind the power of the mind, the power of manifestation, the power of positive thinking versus negative thinking, and how negative thinking inhibits you from achieving your goals. These are all things that I'm fascinated, like, how did this work for me? And teaching this to other people so they can use it to be the best version of themselves in every facet of life.
Boom. I mean, that you unpacked a lot, man. That was a great intro. Um, whew. Okay, let's go back to the beginning
Deep
just for
breath.
a minute. You said, I know that you weren't allowed to do anything. I mean, no girls, no Jordan. Wow,
It was tough.
that would have been brutal. So, but then you mentioned that you got married young, and so married at 19, is that right?
Yes, sir.
So there's probably a small story there at least. How does that happen? Was this you weren't allowed to date? So was this just like, really quick, or you knew her for a while and then you were able to date when you hit 18, or how'd that work with the cult and with your mom and the whole 9 yards? That had to be kind of a tiptoe dance right there.
Great question. Great question. It was nuanced. When I left and joined the military, after basic training, after technical school, the Air Force sent me to Elmendorf Air Force Base, Alaska, and it was there that one of the agencies that I frequently communicated with, uh, I was always on the phone with this person, and we developed an affinity for each other. We went on a date, and um, life progressed very quickly. After, I want to say, about 6 months, we got married. Now, psychologically, as I've gotten older, I'm now 40, I realized that because I wasn't allowed to date and because there was all of these mental programming that this religion imposed on me, that if you are with someone, there is no dating process in that particular religion. It is either God put you together and you are now a couple and you get married. And so it was a function of that, me wanting to do the right thing. And also, it was a function of the Air Force at the time wanted to send me to Guam and her to Texas. And unfortunately, at that time, it was a pretty common thing that two folks in the military doing well together, the relationship was tracking well, we would get married for the Air Force to keep you in the same location at the same time. So
Wow.
it
Okay.
was there's a couple pieces at play there. But I mean, she's a wonderful, beautiful soul, and that is a beautiful part of my life, and I'm very happy that it happened for many reasons.
Nice. And please pardon me for asking this, but is she your current wife?
No, sir, I am
Okay.
divorced. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha. All right. I just, the way you were talking about her very glowingly, which is awesome. Appreciate that. I'm sure she does.
Of
I
course.
just kind of was picking that up. So, all right. So currently you're divorced and you've
Yes,
got,
sir.
how old's your daughter now?
My daughter just turned 18. I have two stepchildren that are 23 and 24, I believe.
Okay. How'd that work?
When my first wife when I met her, she had a 2 and a 3-year-old, and so
Oh, okay.
ergo, I married into a built-in family.
Nice. And you still consider them your stepchildren.
Oh, of
Very
course,
cool.
we're very close. Yeah,
Very cool. Love that. All right. Not to pry. I'm just putting the pieces together of the story. So
I'm wide open.
I appreciate you. I mean, I've heard a lot of stories about, cults and things of that nature, and very strict religions and that sort of thing. The What led you to leaving there? I understand, especially a young man who wants to experience the world, feels like he's been restrained. Um, but you ran to the Air Force. What was it about the military or the Air Force that said, come here next?
Great question. At that time, um, as a child, my dream was to fly. My ultimate dream was, being in the clouds, flying heavies, taking care of, people. And so the quickest route in my little brain was we were poor, and I didn't want my mom to have to foot the bill for flight school. So I thought if I join the Air Force, I can become a pilot. I can pursue that dream that way. Little did I know at the time I wore glasses. My eyesight was too poor to fly. By the time I got laser eye surgery, I was too old to begin pilot training.
Oh,
So it was a heartbreak, but a blessing in disguise. I had some amazing experiences in the Air Force, met some amazing people, traveled the world. Everything happens for a reason.
right. You did two tours though.
Yes, sir.
Right. So at one point, were you thinking of making that a career?
I was always torn about it because deep down inside, I knew I wanted more with my life, but I wasn't sure if I could. And so I chose to suppress it and I chose to go the comfort route. So I reenlisted in the Air Force after my first 4-year contract. And I was like, you know what? I'm making good money. The family's happy. We're traveling. We have everything we need. And I chose to settle in that way. And after going to Iraq, I realized that settling in life was the thing that it's a trap, that the comfort zone that people fall into. But having that experience of seeing the mortality of those around me, feeling my own mortality, like, I don't know if tomorrow is promised. I don't know if I'll see my daughter turn 18 and graduate high school the way I was so thankful to do this year. So I wake up each morning feeling like my skin is literally on fire because I have so much to give to the world and I have so much imploring and And I want to see people happy in the best version of themselves.
Nice. I appreciate the answer. Okay, so I totally understand the Air Force then, especially with the totally restricted young man, and the ultimate expression of freedom is flying. So, boy, does that make sense. That
Exactly.
totally
Exactly.
tracks. Absolutely. It also, I mean, you got about 15,000 guys all nodding their head right now, going, "Yep, settling. Mm-hmm. Yeah, easy way out. Got it. Yeah," and they're all nodding their head, going,
It's a trap.
"Speak it to me." Yeah. So after the Air Force, somehow from out after the Air Force to where you are now, it sounds like you've gone through some sort of training, education, something to get to this, positive mindset, law of attraction, these types of things. I mean, that sort of energy work, it takes some time to learn. I mean, it doesn't just like, pop tea out of the ether. So, what brought you in all that?
Great question. I don't know exactly where it started. I can't pinpoint it. There wasn't a defining moment that said, think about it this way. But I think at a certain point, I knew it was going to take, in order for me to transition from the military, working at airports and managing airport operations, to becoming a TV director, kind of this exclusive crowd in Hollywood. At least that's how I had it built up in my brain. To not just being in that number, but directing and having the weight of the show on my shoulders and being the guy. And so I knew if I were to pursue this, it would take every ounce of everything that I had. And I said, okay, what am I willing to sacrifice that would inhibit me from really getting my dream? And so I chose a very drastic route, and that ended up being cutting out a lot of my friends, a lot of the negativity, a lot of I chose to not listen to music because I didn't want that pull on my mind. I was very limited in the television that I chose to subject myself to, because something deep inside said there is everything that you perceive will distract your mind. And I started to notice days that I focused versus days that I had a little, maybe I went out that weekend and I struggled to focus the next week. Understanding, and now as I'm older, I understand the power of the subconscious mind and how all of these things are internalized that will distract you from your goals. Um, so I didn't understand completely, but I knew that if I gave my all, that good things would happen. And as a result, I started to pick up niblets here and there from different people. And I started to, law of attraction, as you tune your frequency into listening to certain people, you pick up things. It's the red Ferrari theory. When you have your eye on a red Ferrari and you're ready to buy it, you start to see red Ferraris everywhere. Go figure. You're looking for a plumber to fix your house. All of a sudden, you see plumbing trucks and plumbing billboards everywhere. Same thing. I was starting to look for those acknowledges and signs in the world that I was going in the right direction, that I was doing the right thing, that I was going to pursue and achieve my dreams. So
Nice.
to answer your question, I can't exactly say what drew me to it, but I knew if I was obsessed. I believe I listened to a podcast that said Michael Jordan, Wayne Gretzky, um, and there was another person throughout history that they were literally obsessed in a almost neurotic way, and that's what made them great. And I said, okay, got it. And I chose to obsessively read articles from live television directors and be able to understand and memorize their story. I read television directing um, textbooks, even though I wasn't a director, even though I wasn't in film school, because I wanted to exude that every moment that I got, because I knew I had a goal. And the only way I was going to achieve it was going all out.
Nice. Um, I skipped a step on you, and because I was fascinated with the energy work stuff, and so I apologize for that. But I know that when you were, after you went through Iraq, which, I've heard this from a lot of guys, so I totally get it. After Iraq, um, you had to sort of reassimilate. You had to, come back into society, that whole thing. And I know that the war at home type of thing, takes over and really kind of kicks the hell out of a lot of guys. Sounds like you were dealing with that, and something somehow happened. There was a decision that you made. Something jarred you out of that and set you on this path that we've just been talking about.
Sure.
Am I okay? If you don't mind me asking, and listen, you always have the right to not answer a question on this show, just so you know. You can
I'm
just
an
be
open
like,
book, my friend.
you can say pass, we'll move on. But
Or you
um,
can ask me whatever you want.
all right, I'm gonna test that.
Let's go.
All right. What was it? Was there an event that happened? Was, some shocking thing? Was it just you wake up one morning, and go blink, here we go? I mean, what was it that caused you to change like that?
Sure. I remember very vividly coming back from Iraq and trying to be present for my family. And it's interesting looking back on it now. I have the perspective of, Monday morning quarterback, etc. Hindsight is 2020, but you're never fully prepared to come back from a traumatic experience. Like, no one teaches that in school. No one is like, hey, this is what you do, and you will be okay if you follow these clean and easy 3 steps. And even if there were 3 steps, it doesn't work like that because we're all different.
Right.
Um, and so I realized I was struggling being present for my daughter. I was struggling being present for my then wife. I was struggling being present for myself. My mind was still there. And thankfully, my ex-wife at the time was prior military as well. She went to 4 tours in Iraq, so she understood excruciatingly well what I was experiencing. But that didn't stop me from struggling with that transition. And so I realized either I was going to wallow in it and be a shell of the person that I was, not enjoy going out to dinner, always looking at the door, watching the people coming in and coming out, not feeling comfortable in large crowds, passing on social events because I just wasn't comfortable because of certain experiences that I had in Iraq. Was I going to continue to live like that while everyone else was out having fun and living a quote unquote normal life? Or was I going to, do the work with a therapist and heal myself and do the hard work in dealing with my emotions to really move the needle and own the life that I wanted? Because remember, in Iraq, I discovered I was living in my comfort zone. And so I ran across a quote that has kind of changed my life. And it says, it goes something like, the cave you fear holds the treasure you seek. And that's really changed my life in so many ways in pursuing, in overcoming anxiety and things like that. So circling back, it wasn't really a defining moment outside of Iraq when I realized I was living in my comfort zone. And if I was given this privilege of extra time, I was chosen to not die in any of these situations. When I was driving sleepy, I did not get into a car accident and was paralyzed. Like, so many situations that my life was spared. What am I doing with it? What am I really doing with these moments? Am I living in anger in the past, in frustration, in retreat, in PTSD, living in fear? Or am I truly making myself happy and doing myself justice to my experiences, all of these, my fallen comrades and the amazing people that probably deserve to be alive more than I do? And so I chose to live my life in a way where not every day is perfect, obviously, but in that mindset of knowing my why and knowing, is the juice worth the squeeze at the end of the day? Am I doing making my ancestors proud? Am I living the legacy that I want to have? That is the special part for me.
Appreciate your answer. The how old was your daughter when you made that first move? When you made the decision to, say, hey, got to rededicate myself. I'm not showing up like a man like I'm supposed to. Got to make a change. Any idea how old she was at that point? I'm just curious.
Uh, I'll tell you, it broke my heart when I got off the plane from Iraq and my wife was holding her. She met me at LAX and she met me at the terminal at the gate. And even though we FaceTime every single day, it broke my heart that when I walked off that plane, she didn't know my face. And considering what I grew up with, being an only child, being a child to a single mother, that really dug deep. And so after I came back from Iraq, I was determined, like I knew I didn't possess the internal know-how, the tools, the coping mechanisms to fix myself. So I pretty immediately I reached out for therapy and started to do the work. And I've been off and on in therapy since 2009, and that's been a game changer for me. To answer your question, it was shortly thereafter when I came back from Iraq, and I realized I didn't want my daughter to experience a present but not present father, because my mind was still in Iraq. My mind was living in a cage of its own devices. Like that trauma, that fear, that place was over. That old person that I was is not my current person. And in order for her to see the best version of myself, I needed to transcend that old version. That old version of me needed to die in almost every sense of the word for me to be the new present version for her that she could look up to and be proud of and have amazing memories with.
Right on. Okay. The work that you're talking about with manifesting, the science of manifestation, things of that nature, law of attraction, all of those things, everything kind of falls into that umbrella, right?
Yes.
That is not normally something, to the best of my knowledge, that therapists subscribe to. Um, you say that therapy was a game changer for you. Did therapy help get you on the right track so you could discover this other stuff, or was the other stuff what you needed in addition to the therapy to get you where you are now?
Everything plays a role.
Sure.
Um, every in our life, we have many experiences, and we wouldn't be the people that we are today without these experiences. I hate to say it because it's so traumatic, but if I didn't have Iraq, I would not be the person that's here. And as mindful and as present. So, in response to your question, I absolutely needed therapy because I did not have the tools to handle the weight of that trauma and those emotions that I was like most guys, like, hey, I have emotions, but they're there and I'm me. They
Right.
don't affect me. Like I'm a rock in an ocean, and the emotions hit, but I'm still here. Like, no, you actually have to deal with them, because if you don't, and I get into this in my book and in the workshops, there are truly physical problems that will manifest themselves in terms of ulcers, in terms of GI problems, if you do not deal with your emotions and not deal with them in a way of burying them or putting them in a closet or locking them up. You must understand. And I had to dig all the way back to my childhood and how I was raised and what I believed and why, for me to really truly understand that, okay, maybe these beliefs that I have about myself when I am by myself are really not the case anymore. I'm not that same person that was limited as a child and through 17 and a half years unable to uh, free think for myself, or truly not live without these such extreme guidelines. And everyone needs guidelines, but it was to such an extreme degree that it was counterproductive. Um, in order for me to get to manifestation and to get to that level, all of the groundwork needed to be done in myself and in my process with dealing with my histories and my mini traumas. And, just as a side note, when you, we all deal with trauma, we all have scars, we all have wounds, like that is not new. But if you do not deal with them, hurt people. And I can't emphasize in my process for learning myself and getting to be better. It's a process. And sometimes we have bad days. Sometimes we hurt people. I've hurt people that I didn't intend. In dealing with my own struggles, you get hit in the jaw and you have to take a couple steps back and say, whoa, what happened there? Where did the mission fail? In order to get to the place where you're open to, okay, the power of the mind, the power of positive thinking, the power of negative thinking, and how these things can really truly impact your future.
Hmm. I appreciate the answer. The therapy is about looking back, at what has happened and trying to kind of unravel it and things and heal it. And manifestation, of course, is about moving forward.
Yes, sir.
And so that does make sense. It tracks. I understand what you're saying there. The You mentioned your book and your workshop, and I know those are both things that are coming. Um, Let me, if we can, one at a time, tell me about the book. What makes you want to go that direction in terms of, hey, I want to write a book now, right? As opposed to any other way that you could express yourself and put it out there. So what is it about the book that makes you want to write a book? And what's it about? What's it going to cover?
You know, Great question. It's kind of a labor of love, and it's something that I've wrestled with over the years. When I came back from Iraq, I had a very strong sense of my mortality, as I've mentioned a few times, but I really wanted to share my experiences with the world and particularly my children should I pass early. And so the book kind of became a love letter to my children about things that I've learned about the world that I just didn't have anybody to tell me, that my parents couldn't articulate or hadn't experienced. And it's kind of chronicles my life in kind of a humorous, pragmatic, and perspective of the person that was going through living in a cult, living with a super strict mother that loved her small child so much that she didn't want him to see the poverty on the south side of Chicago. So she made him kneel down in the back of the car and read books and play so he didn't see the prostitution and the streetwalkers and the wine heads. She cared that much. Um, and just kind of chronicling these experiences, which led to, there's so much positive and then so much, pain and trauma in processing the religion and going through the Air Force and some of the things that I've experienced in my life, I dig into, and the why and the how and deconstructing. And I think my experiences are in some ways unique, but we're all humans. We've all dealt with anxiety, depression, pain, heartbreak, communication, the things that they don't teach you in school. I just want to share my perspective. And I think it would really resonate with a lot of people and help push them to be the best version of themselves. And, particularly, I love the phrase, and it's kind of become one of my catchphrases, your limit is a lie. And
Nice.
that's really resonated with me because I think so many people get caught up in the identity that they were told about themselves
Hmm.
versus who they can become if they choose to accept.
Feel like they/we put those limits on ourselves
Absolutely. Absolutely.
and tell ourselves those lies.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think um so they say, and they being researchers suggest that 30 to 60% of our memory or our perceived memories are flawed. right? So we either misrepresent or misremember details about our memory. And this changes from childhood to adults because obviously the further removed we are from these things, the fuzzier the details are. And obviously the big events are remembered, but some of the details, the words get the context, the inflections, these things get switched because the brain is always trying to offset and either support the narrative that it's telling itself or trying to correct something. So the brain doesn't want cognitive dissonance where the ideology and the brain and the emotions are all different. The brain wants all of them to be the same. So sometimes little details and nuances about the story, the inflections, the pauses, these things that truly matter get changed. And so um, in time, the things that our parents have told us about ourselves, about, you know, what we should do with our lives, the person type that we should be, it becomes stored in us. And it sometimes when we buck against that as adults, you get what's called the butterflies in the stomach, or the limbic system is uh, having a reaction to all of these things that the brain is remembering. Your gut has a memory too. And it's like, wait a minute, this doesn't align with what I've been told or what I've been telling myself for all of these years. So it doesn't feel right. But a lot of times, again, going past that, you can really get to your true potential. And I get into that in the workshops.
That makes a lot of sense. So up to 60% of your memories then are potentially flawed.
And it's
Hmm.
amazing, with the criminal justice system, not to bash it, but so much is placed on people's memories and their testimony, when I think we should lean a little more into science and the DNA and the cameras and things that we know are super factual versus things that are flawed. And this isn't anything new. We've known this for, I think this research came out in the 80s. So
Wow. So it's not cutting edge information that nobody knows. It's been around for a bit. I like
absolutely.
that. I'm pretty sure my wife said that to me one time. But
She knows everything. Just
yeah,
say yes, dear.
I'm like, no, really, that's what happened. She's like, no, 60% of your memory is flawed. Just trust me. Sounds like something she'd say to me. Not to make light of it, I apologize. But it really does make sense because I know that the mind's job is to protect the body. It's to protect the life organism. And if there's something in your mind that's threatening that, in some way, then it's, going to change it. That makes sense. It's going to alter
Absolutely.
it. Makes a lot of sense. All right. Um, the, hmm, all right. I know that you want to help as many people as possible. Okay. But when you're writing the book and you're like imagining who it is you're speaking to, who are you actually like writing the book to?
I The book is to my children
Okay.
directly. However, I'm writing it with the intent that other eyes and viewers will appreciate the sentiments that I'm trying to share as a father to children.
Okay.
But I also, my children are adults now, and so I share these stories in a palatable way for adults to experience and to relate with.
So it is, I mean, legacy is one of the biggest reasons for writing the book.
Yes, sir.
Nice. Good for you. Good for you. I think that's really, really important. Um, you're talking to, on this show, you're talking to, like I said, thousands of men out there right now who are, a large majority of them are husbands and fathers. A big chunk of those are veterans also. I mean, that's our audience. Those are the people that we speak to every day. As you're talking to these gentlemen out there, um, I have talked to them. I've talked to a lot of them. I understand what they're dealing with. I know, the regularness of life, what it does to you, unrealized dreams, things like that. And not too many of the guys that are out there would jump onto a podcast and talk about how much they love their life. So I guess my question to you right off the bat, as we start going into this part of the podcast, when we're talking about advice and we're talking about, what your book can do and your workshops, for the guys out there who feel that way, for the guys out there who don't, jump out of bed every morning and go, I love life, right? They're battling. Um, what can you tell them about maybe some steps they can take? What are some first steps to start going down the path that you're currently on that has led you to where you are in a much more enlightened and happier state?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's a great question. And I think that so many of us that I speak to are kind of trying to figure it out. And that's in some ways, I believe that is one of the most beautiful places to be because your options are truly endless. I would suggest start out mapping out who is the person that you want to be. And it can be anyone. It can be modeling some elements from your dad or a mentor or a coworker or someone that you've seen on TV. Just jot down ideas. And it's important for you to see it and write it through your body as you are writing these nuggets down. Maybe I want to be more present for my children. Maybe I want to connect more deeply, more often with my family. Write that down. And as you see it, understand that even just the act of writing it down puts that A into the universe, but B also there's a certain definitiveness of writing it down, right? As you come up with this list and look at every facet of your life, look at health wise, look at physical, listen to your doctor. What do you need? What do you not need in your life? Religion, spirituality. How do you want to show up for your friends? Like, who is the person that you want to be, that best version of yourself? Look into that and dig deep. Don't, it's not a, jot down a couple things and ask yourself the question 5 minutes later, you're done with it. This is something that you're going to need to sleep on and really dig into every facet of your life. What does your wealth situation look like? Where do you look like 5 years down the line? What do you want your legacy to be? And as you go through that, as you figure out those people that you want to emulate, start to realize qualities in them that you can also do, because not fake it till you make it is so freaking real. And a lot of times you are not that person starting out, but if you know it is good and positive, and you know what, you're not going to be perfect showing up for, if you're a guy showing up for your little daughter that wants to play, have a tea party and eat crimpets and do, like, you're not going to be good at it. And that's okay. She just wants to see that you're there. She just wants to see that you're present with her and that you're truly locked in that moment. That's all that matters. That's all that matters. Doing those things. Okay, no, you're not going to save $50 million overnight, but what can we do?
Yeah.
What investments can we make if we're truly being serious about it? So one is, I love to say, knowledge is not power. You were lied to as a child. Knowledge is not power. The action is in the doing. The action is getting up off the couch and actually doing those things that you're writing down, that you know deep down inside that is right. Most of us know what to do. Most of us truly know those areas in life that we're lacking. But are you willing to show that self-discipline and be that leader for your family, be that leader for yourself, someone that you can look in the mirror and be proud of? And when you start doing those little things, I recommend writing down 3 things every day that are must-do items. 3 things. They are your no-fail mission. If you do this, then you can look at yourself and you say, you know what? I went to work today. I showed up for my wife. I showed up for my kids. Like, you know what? I did something. I don't know what it is, but you did something. And every day it could be different. Every day it could be the same thing. Whatever your priorities are, you lean into it and you make that commitment to yourself. When you do it once, you can do it the next day. Because when you look at yourself at the end of the night, you know, and that oxytocin floods your system and that serotonin, and you're like, hey, you know what? I accomplished this. I am being the man that I said I was going to be. And then the next day, the key is no days off. discipline. Because if you lose a day, it's easy for you to lose 2 days. If you lose 2 days, you've broken the streak. Everybody's going to have bad days. We get it. But if you hold yourself to your no fail mission and start small with measurable goals, I promise you, you will have success.
Nice. All right.
Very
So,
simple.
yeah, and I like that it's,
Actually,
go ahead. Yeah,
let me piggyback off that.
sure.
Another thing is um, showing gratitude. Gratitude for the things that you have. If you live in a state of gratitude, you will never focus on, and you will as an intellectual being. You're like, oh, you know, man, I don't have as much money. I can't take my family on the vacation that I hoped I could take them on. But if you're like, but I am thankful that we are able to go on this road trip and we are able to go camping. It's not the amazing vacation, but guess what? It's something, and I'm showing up. Being gratitude for the things that you do have will move you further in changing your brain chemistry and changing how you outlook life. And that's something that I always suggest. It's free, it doesn't cost you a thing, and it will change your life.
I like that they're actionable steps towards sort of creating that picture, that image of what do I want my life to look like? Because until you can see that really clearly, then you can't manifest it.
I agree.
So it makes a lot of sense what you're talking about. Did we just get a dose of what a workshop's going to be like?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We go into actionable steps
Uh,
and why, on a scientific level, the studies that have been proven um, that the power of the mind is real. For example, um, there is a study out there that uh, participants in the study had a stroke. And as we know, strokes paralyze the left side of your body. The left arm, left leg are typically rendered immovable, but they can still move the right side. So participants in this study uh, were strapped down on both their functioning and non-functioning side. And they were forced to mentally work out. So they were taught how to mentally train and go through the reps of training both arms, both legs, and mobilizing these things. After a month, I believe it is 28 to 30% of the participants, after a month of doing this daily, stroke victims, were able to receive 38% movement in the paralyzed part of their body just by using their mind.
wow.
There's countless studies that prove this is not mystical. This is not, it is science. I cannot emphasize it enough. And that's the part that I love. If you believe it, you have to believe it. You have to 100% go all out and believe that your life will change. You will be that person that you will become. And there's a lot of steps in mindfulness and manifestation that people are doing slightly skewed, and that they don't get the outcome that they're looking for, and that limits them in getting to the next step because they try it for a couple of days and it doesn't work. It's not like that. It's a lifelong process that you give yourself to. You become this person. And as in the process of you transcending where you are now and dying and becoming this new person, it's almost a rebirth. That journey is where you can truly tap in to all those special things.
That's great. I like that a lot. All right. So this is what a workshop is going to be like when you have these up and running. When, let's say someone's listening to this right now and they're like, man, I'd love to work with this guy. Let me get some more information. First of all, how do they contact you? And second of all, when's the workshop and the book coming out?
Love it, love it, love it. Follow me on the Logan Unlimited, TheLogan Unlimited, on Instagram, and also uh, sign up on my website, theloganunlimited.com, because it is my goal that everyone lives unlimited. Unlimited in thought patterns, unlimited in belief structure, just all out the best version of you. Follow me there. The book will be out on early next year. Working with editors furiously to make sure that it's the best version that people will love. And the workshops, we are It'll be virtual to start, minimal cost, because we want to get the word out to everyone that, hey, this is science, this is real, this is applicable, and it doesn't require a PhD or some fancy, $2,000 retreat to, that you're there for a week to really master. If you follow these simple steps, like, you can have the life that you want, and that'll be later this year.
Nice. Nice. All right, brother. I love this. You got a great story, like I told everybody, and I appreciate you sharing it with folks because I know that the things that you went through resonated really hard with a lot of the guys who are listening today. So just for that, I thank you for coming on the show. But for everything else and everything else that you're offering, there's not enough help out there for men. There really isn't. But I just want to clarify, is this for men? Is this for men and women? What is it that you're offering? Because we do have about a 15% female listenership. I want to make sure they know what's up to.
Absolutely. This is for everyone.
Right on.
Manifestation, the power of the mind, this applies across the gender roles, however you identify, whatever you're into. You need to be the best version of yourself. And a lot of what the traditional science, what we were taught, at least our generation back in the 80s, 90s, is not the science today. And they're not getting the word out on how your brain actually works. And I get into communication and health and wellness, and some of the studies that have been done that conventional knowledge teaches you about health and wellness that aren't based in science. They're just old wives' tales that we've held on to. And so the understanding your health leads into the mind, leads into wealth, leads into your relationships. It's all interconnected, and that's the beauty of it. And I want to see people holistically, and again, and not, I promise you, it's so not a misty woo woo, super spiritual aspect. This is science. Like, this is proven with peer reviewed double blind data that is unequivocally, it's as good as it gets.
Nice. Nice. All right. As we kind of wrap things up here, we've unpacked a lot. You have really shared a ton. I want to make sure we're not missing anything. So as we wrap things here, let me just ask you this. Is there anything that I didn't ask you? Is there anything that, we talked about, maybe you want to double down on, maybe leave a nugget or a last piece of, wisdom for everybody? I'm going to give you the floor for the next minute or two. It's all yours. Bring us home.
I appreciate that, Rory. And I really appreciate your audience for listening. Whatever journey you're on, it's special. And I know we've all had our individual traumas, but realize we're all in this life together, ultimately. And we need to focus on things that bring us together and connect. Open up, talk to your boys and your girls about the things that you've experienced, and process it. Because a lot of times our friends are suffering in silence too. And the more we really truly connect in person and with these people, the friendships and the bonds are so much more fulfilling. Your trauma does not define who you are or you will become in the future. The stuff that's happened to you in your past is just stuff. And if you work through it, you will be a better person. But if you don't, it will hold you back in life. And I think, obviously, if you're listening to this podcast, you're trying to work through it. You are a forward-thinking, forward-moving person. Keep listening to Rory. He's going to change your life.
I appreciate you, man. I really do. Thank you for the shout out on my own show. I like that. I love it. I can't hear that enough. So,
it's true. It's true. I've listened to some episodes. Like, you're delivering some powerful stuff.
Thank you, man. So are you. And I love what you're putting together. I'm really looking forward to the book coming out. And when that does come out, we got to get you back on the show.
Love it. I'll be
Okay?
here, brother.
Standing invitation. You got it. And I'm saying it right now on the air so everybody can hear it. So, wonderful. Soon to be author and, wow, incredible storyteller and soon to be leading workshops. Logan, appreciate you. Thank you for the message. Thank you for the uplifting words for myself and the listeners. You've been awesome. I appreciate you being on today.
appreciate you, brother. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Folks, that's another fantastic episode of the Power Man podcast. And the reason that we have such powerful men on here with such powerful messages is because we are united in trying to help you take back your power in your life so that you can be a better provider, a better protector, a better leader tomorrow than you are today, so that you can be a better father, a better husband, a better man tomorrow than you are today. And the reason that we want this for you is because you matter, you have value, and you're worth it. And at some point, you just have to believe it. Until next time.